So today we're going to deconstruct a story that's been woven through courtrooms and, well, the absolute highest levels of power. We're not here to speculate or get into rumors. Instead, we're going to piece this whole thing together by looking directly at the source. 4 key public records that, honestly, tell their own pretty wild story.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. It all really kicks off with this pretty provocative claim posted on social media by Elon Musk. He straight up alleges that the delay in releasing the rest of the Jeffrey Epstein files is directly tied to President Trump. And a single post like that, it just blew up, right? It put this immense pressure on the Department of Justice to be transparent. So to really get what's at stake here, to understand the weight of this demand, we need to look at what's already out there, what's already on the record. Let's walk through 4 key documents to build a much clearer picture.
All right, so let's start with document number 1. This is a civil lawsuit that was filed way back in 2016. And this is where some of the most direct and frankly serious allegations connecting Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were first laid out in a court of law.
And this complaint, it does not waste any time. I mean, right there on page 1, it names the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein. This is the document that, from the jump, legally and publicly connects these 2 men.
And you don't have to dig deep to see how serious this is. Just look at the title page of the complaint. These are not minor claims. We're talking about some of the most severe charges you can make in a civil case: rape, assault, false imprisonment, and they're leveled against both of them.
Now, this is a direct quote from paragraph 10 of that 2016 complaint. It is graphic, and it is disturbing, and it outlines the plaintiff's claims. And it is crucial to remember, this is the allegation, exactly as it was written by the plaintiff in a court filing. This is her sworn version of events, exactly as she presented it to the court.
Okay, so for our second document, we're shifting gears a bit. We're moving from a plaintiff's allegations to sworn testimony from someone who was on the inside, a longtime employee of Jeffrey Epstein, someone who saw the day-to-day of how that household was run.
The witness here is a man named Juan Alessi, and he was Epstein's major domo. So what's a major domo? Basically, he was the head butler, the house manager, he was the guy in charge, which gave him pretty much unparalleled access to the inner workings of the residence.
So you have investigators asking him point blank, did anything more than just a massage ever happen here behind closed doors? And this was his answer. I just imagine. I never saw anything. It's a direct denial. But his testimony definitely didn't stop there.
But here's the thing. Even though he said he never saw anything, he went into a lot of detail about what he had to clean up. He testified that after these massages, the bed would be a total mess again. He said he was cleaning up, get this, 40 to 50 towels a day. And most pointedly, he testified that he found sex toys just left out on a few occasions, describing one as, in his own words, a long dick rubber thing.
All right, document 3. Now, this is a pretty big shift in focus. We're moving away from the Epstein-related testimony for a moment and looking at a totally different but really significant legal outcome for Donald Trump in 2024. Because to understand the full context of the political pressure happening today, you really need to look at this, the final verdict sheet from his New York criminal trial.
And if you look at the verdict sheet itself, it's pretty stark. You've got 34 counts, one right after the other, and for each one, the charge is exactly the same: falsifying business records in the first degree. And next to every single count, the jury checked the box for guilty.
Yeah, the result was completely unambiguous. A unanimous verdict from the jury, guilty, on all 34 felony counts. And this criminal conviction, which was a first for a former American president, well, it added a whole new dimension to the public and political landscape.
Okay, for our last document, we're coming full circle, right back to the central issue here, those Epstein files. This is an official call for transparency from Congress, and it ties directly into that public pressure we saw right at the start.
So with all this controversy swirling, and especially after Musk's post, Democratic members of the powerful House Oversight Committee decided to take formal action. They sent this letter to the Department of Justice and the FBI, and they demanded the immediate release of all the remaining files from the Epstein investigation.
And this timeline really shows that the frustration was coming from both sides of the aisle. You see, back in February, the DOJ released a first batch of files. But by May, Republicans on a declassification task force are already expressing serious frustration with how slow things are moving. And then you get to June, and that's when Democrats really turn up the heat, citing concerns that President Trump himself might be holding back files that could implicate him.
So here we are, right back where we started, with a demand for records that we still haven't seen.
We've walked through a civil complaint with some really serious allegations. We've heard sworn testimony from an insider, and we've seen this bipartisan push for more information. And it all points to this complex, unresolved story. It really leads to one central question. When so much is already out there in the public record, what is the full price or the benefit of total transparency? That's something worth thinking about.